Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and with me is Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains.
Good afternoon, all.
So we're fresh back from Gamescom. Before we dive into the usual agenda in this podcast, which is where we look at the biggest stories from the previous week, we're going to talk a little bit about Gamescom and what a massive disappointment it was. So basically, for those of you who didn't attend, Gamescom usually is quite bustling with VR titles, but Peter and myself both went, and the community was not in full swing this year. There were some interesting titles and some hardware being shown, but by and large, the VR part of Gamescom was relatively small. Pete, your thoughts?
Well, in complete agreement with you there. Yes, there was very little dedicated to VR, especially in the consumer halls. While there was, you would could see some headsets about. We did spot an Apple Vision Pro. There were a couple of Quest 3s about there. There was nothing like you had in previous years, like when we've been before. There's been, Sony was there with a big PlayStation VR stand. When Iron Man VR came out, there's a big furore about VR, and that's naturally sort of dissipated, and it just isn't there anymore. Um, and so yeah, the consumer halls were a little bit bare.
So I didn't expect Sony to be there with PSVR at all.
No,
I'm sure you didn't either. But what I did expect is more indies to be there showcasing their wares. So, indies. Let's make Gamescom 2026 the year of indie VR. Reach out, get in touch. We've got things we can do, irons in the fire. We want to help you.
yeah, somehow will help.
That's that. So, as I say on this podcast, what we usually do is take a look at the top stories in XR from the previous week, and we're going to begin this week something I don't really know much about.
You've not heard of this Apple Vision Pro competitor?
I have, but what are the new details, Pete?
Yeah, what are the new details? Well, the Vivo, I'm going to go with Vivo Vision. Vivo is a Chinese company, and they revealed the Vision back in about March, I believe. And they've just released new specs for their Vision Pro competitor, and it is a Vision Pro competitor because it essentially looks exactly the same, bar a few little tweaks here and there. It is very similar, because they are being demos in China. And so they've released a load of specs, things like the weight, for example, going to be 398 grams, which is significantly lower than the Pro. It's almost like half the weight. It's going to have eye tracking. It's obviously going to have hand tracking because it's not going to have controllers. Again, same with the Pro. Other things, dual micro LED displays and supposedly sort of 8K resolution as well. And it's going to have a Qualcomm Snapdragon Gen 2 processor. Snapdragon XR2 plus Gen 2. There's a mouthful there. Processor. So it's going to have the latest Qualcomm standalone processor. So that gives you a little hint about its power and capabilities. So that's good to hear. But it's the one thing that's maybe sort of people might be a little bit disappointed. It's not going to run at the Android XR system, which you may have thought it might have done, because it's going to run its own home operating system, a custom system designed by Vivo called the Origin OS. So we'll wait and see how that turns out. But yeah, it looks like a cool headset.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty impressive. But if they're aiming to be a Vision Pro competitor, does that mean they're aiming to be a Vision Pro price point? You know?
Well, they haven't released an official price point, but they have hinted at that it will probably cost around 10,000. I think it's about 10,000. Well, they've done it in yen, as far as I'm aware. 10,000 yen, which was about. Oh no, it's not yen at all. It's whatever the Chinese currency is,
RMB.
RMB.
Okay.
So it's 10,000 RMB, which is roughly around 1,400 US.
Yeah, it's about nine usually the division to pounds.
So
I'm sterling.
roughly around that. But like I say, there's been no official um, price point set just yet. But we're looking about half the price at least.
And where are they demoing it, Peter?
They are going to be demoing in lots of places in China, Shanghai, Beijing, that sort of place. So if you are going to China, or if you're there at the moment, keep an eye out. They haven't. It's going to be soon. They haven't set as far as I can tell, a date, but it's going to be soon.
So Vivo, I may be in China soon. Hook me up, reach out, let's chat.
Hit that lad up. Hit him up. Yeah.
Moving on, we've got investment news from a more familiar face. More
Yeah, yeah.
familiar.
The high-end manufacturers at Varjo have announced they've just secured a $5 million investment from a Greek company called Theon. Theon are a manufacturer of sort of military imaging systems, night vision, thermal imaging, that sort of stuff. And so Theon have just invested this money into Varjo to help them accelerate military-grade XR systems. Which, yeah, okay, fair enough.
$5.8 million to be precise, right?
5.8 million to be exactly right. Yes, yes. It's all part of Theon's next initiative, which is their attempt to expand beyond their traditional imaging system base and go into digital and AI-driven sort of soldier systems, as they sort of dub it. Which, as we know at the moment, there's quite a lot of interest in this. We've got Meta Anduril have recently announced a collaboration after Anduril took over from Microsoft's failed headset system for the US Army. So yeah, there's a lot of interest in this at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously Varro go back quite a way. We've all been fans of them for some time, so hoping this spurs on some growth.
Mhm. Definitely for them.
So moving on from MR and VR hardware to AR hardware. It seems that every week on this podcast this year we have talked about smart glasses, and this week's going to be no different.
Yeah, exactly. And we will probably continue doing so for the foreseeable future at the moment. This week, it's all about Meta Oakley Smart Glasses. They were announced earlier this year. Last month, the limited edition Oakley Meta HSTN smart glasses launched. They were about 600, about 550, $600. They had like gold accents and very, very funky. Well, now the regular ones are up for pre-order and will begin shipping this week on from the 26th of August. And these regular Joes don't have, they don't have gold accents, but they do have all the features of the limited edition. So you get all the AI stuff, you get the cameras, you get the video, you get the music and all that sort of stuff. But if you have a regular pair of Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, is there any difference? There's two main differences. Mainly the battery life. The Oakley ones have an 8-hour battery life in comparison to the uh, Ray-Bans, which are only 4 hours. And the Oakleys also do 3K video rather than Ray-Bans 1080p. So you get a little bit higher res. And there you go. And the prices start from $400 and go all the way up to 480, depending on the frames and the lenses that you have, transition lenses and all that sort of stuff.
So I like this. I think it's good. I think it's a nice small step forward. I personally would not invest in these, considering we know or we have rumors as to what's coming in just a few months' time.
Yeah, it's too.
Um, that excites me more. I can't remember the name of it now.
Yeah, yeah. The Hypernova.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yes, if that or is it no, is it Hypernova or is it Meta Celeste? There's been so many at the moment.
Oh, it's Celeste. It's the one with the wristband, wrist controls.
So, yeah, yeah. I
Celeste, right?
think it's
That's
Celeste.
that's what I'm waiting for. That's where my check's going.
Yeah. Why spend $500 when you could maybe spend 800
Yeah.
get a cool wristband and some head-up display? Although
Yeah.
it won't be cool Oakley smart glasses.
I mean, I'm cool enough without them, so
Okay, yeah, you're that cool. Okay.
yeah. Don't need them. Okay. Normally we wrap up this podcast with some gaming news every week, and today we've got Callum, two gaming news stories for you. The first one comes as almost no surprise. We got some Deadpool news because Deadpool was the only thing Meta had at Gamescom, basically.
Yeah, yeah, they did have a giant Meta Deadpool laser tag arena. There was no Deadpool there, just a giant laser tag. But
Oh
hey,
no, there wasn't the business halls. There was
yeah, they
playable there.
talk about the consumers that can actually get hold of this sort of stuff. Um, But yes, Deadpool VR, Marvel's Deadpool VR, to give it the full night title, is coming to MetaQuest 3 and 3S officially on the 18th of November. It's coming from a team called Twisted Pixel, who are an internal team. They were an external team that were bought by Meta many years ago, and it will retail for $50. So I'm interested to see how well this does because the landscape has changed, hasn't it? Even in the last 12 months, from like the big IPs that arrived last year, at the end of last year, to this year. Whether, because a lot of free to play titles, Tag, Animal Company, they're doing great guns at the moment, but kind of $50 game.
And is it just me, or did Batman come out at 35? Was it
Well,
35 pounds?
there might have been £35. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so $40. So this is more expensive, and there are currently no signs of it being included in a bundle.
No.
So yeah, digital Christmas stocking, sure thing. But it'd be interesting to see how. I mean, there's a lot of people suggesting that this is Meta's last real attempt to get that market. But frankly, $50, one game in time for the holiday season, I'm not sure that putting that all into this.
Mhm. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do at Connect. If they make any sort of big announcements about it, like you say, maybe they might do a bundle. They might do a new bundle.
Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully that $50 price tag means they're not expecting to sell it that way. They're expecting to sell it with headsets. That's the hope.
Wait and see.
Bundle with Batman and Deadpool, that would kill, right?
That would be very cool. Yeah,
Better.
yeah,
Better.
super.
We know you're watching.
Yeah, yeah.
Put Deadpool and Batman together with the Quest. No price change. Keep the price that it is. Just bundle both games. Dynamite. You can have that one for free. Anyway, next up we have a new Star Trek game, and I'm not sure about this subtitle.
Star Trek Infection. So this is our
This is what happened at Gamescom, right?
yeah, Infection. Yeah, feeling it. So this is the next VR Star Trek game because the last one arrived like oh, how many years ago was it? Like 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago, as a multiplayer. But Star Trek Infection is going to be a single player adventure. It's essentially like almost like a horror survival adventure, really. You're on board a ship. It's been infected by some sort of horrendous like organism, and you as one of the characters are slowly infected by this organism, and it gives you special abilities, and you've got to, find out the villain and all the rest of it. And it's a different, certainly a little different take on the usually clean cut Star Trek universe that is portrayed in a lot of video games, especially VR.
So
So,
this was at Gamescom, and it was playable in the consumer halls, tucked at the back of a booth in a little corner. When I went to see it, there was nobody there. So I didn't get to play it. If you did, let me know. Let me know what you think.
well, it's coming to Quest 3 at some point this later this year. So I would assume, yeah, October, November sort of time. And there's going to be a Steam version as well later on. No date for that just yet.
So we'll all be playing it sooner rather than later anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching. That's all we've got time for this week. If you would like to have anything that you're working on discussed on this podcast, be sure to reach out to us in any of the millions of ways that you can do. And we'll see you all again next week.